We wanted to evolve from a company that just throws up racking and panels to a company that provides a more holistic energy management system. And on the commercial side, what we've done with that is, so obviously we design, we install, we're an EPC and provide the complete turnkey solution for commercials. If you think about when a company gets a power bill, it's one big fat number. They have no idea what's driving. They have no idea. More than tracking usage, and probably more important, 43% of all energy produced is wasted. Waste elimination is far easier than power generation and far more cost effective than power generation. I'm not asking customers to choose one or the other. I'm saying they complement each other.
Welcome to the Blue Ocean Solutions podcast, where we dive into real conversations with business owners, innovators, and industry leaders reshaping the future of clean tech, construction, and the renewable energy sectors. I'm Creel Hutchison, your host. Our guest today is John Hrudicka, the CEO and owner at Renew Solar Solutions in the Nashville, Tennessee area. Today, we're going to discuss his journey from CFO of billion-dollar companies to building a high-trust solar and energy management firm, and how he's navigating rapid growth and market shifts in a challenging industry. If you're a renewable energy founder or executive, and you will love the show because John shares his invaluable insights on building trust, scaling operations, and leveraging strategic partnerships in a dynamic market. It's an example of transforming industry challenges into massive growth opportunities through strategic vision and a commitment to doing business the right way. Welcome to the podcast, John.
Thank you, Creel. Great to be here.
So for my audience that may not be familiar with you and your very interesting background and how you've come to, the place you are today, why don't you give a little bit of a short review of who you are and what you're up to?
Yeah, sure. So Renew Solar Solutions, we've been in business for 8 years, but prior to that, I was in finance my entire career, CFO for spanning roughly 20 years over billion-dollar level companies, both public and private. And I was not your accountant CFO, I was your strategic operations CFO. I don't even have a CPA. And I often had an office of strategy management that reported to my role. So everything that I focused on, finance was kind of a means to an end to achieve strategic objectives for our company. And I was always instrumental. It really was the fun part of my job. And so it's carried on through Renew Solar Solutions as well.
So what made you make that shift out of corporate world to, getting on the entrepreneur hat and going into
Yeah. My wife thought I needed a less stressful career.
Was she right?
No, she's not right. But no, I mean, when I was a CFO and particularly with public companies, I found our companies making short-term decisions at the sacrifice of long-term strategy and what was right for the customer to appease Wall Street. I was that guy on those quarterly calls being peppered with all these questions, why you missed earnings by a penny. And so, it just didn't set well with me because I've always been strategic and long-term. And my wife and I, we said, hey, if we're ever going to do this thing, let's do it now. Let's move somewhere where we ultimately want to retire. And let's also start a business that we believe has purpose. And so, I'm kind of a steward of climate change. I don't think it's a political discussion of science. And I feel like what we do has purpose and contributes. Maybe a pebble in the ocean, but it does have purpose.
Fantastic. I would agree with you. So as that being the origin or the impulse to create this, how long has Renew been around and what's your experience been wearing the entrepreneurial hat and building a business again?
Yeah. So we've been around for 8 years. I don't think I could have anticipated the experience that I've had. I mean, I went from, leading large organization, having hundreds of people underneath me to one day I'm marketing, one day I'm operations, and, one day I'm a salesman. So it's been fantastic though, because one thing I really enjoyed about this experience is that my wife and I, co-owners, we get to do things the way we want to do them, right way to do things. And we get to be long-term. I don't have to answer to anybody. I can give up money to do the things the right way. I can't tell you how many customers I've turned away because they're not good candidates for solar, but we want to sleep at night. And so that's one of the things that are really, really is gratifying in terms of our ability to treat customers and employees the right way and the way we want to do that.
John, with that explanation, I can really hear how important your value system is in how you run a business and really putting forward trust and the relationships with your customers. What did you find when you got into the solar industry? Because there's been some, at times very mixed reviews of how this industry operates. What was your personal experience over these past 8 years?
Appalling. And what I mean by that is I think solar is a very low trust industry. We've had a lot of fly by night predatory companies come through just kind of chasing the quick buck or the growth of solar. And I always tell people, it's a positive and a negative. It's a positive that it's fairly easy to compete against these types of companies because it's not too hard to differentiate yourself in terms of trust versus these other types of companies. But the negative is I'm starting off with two strikes against me because of the low trust of the industry. I think with the termination of the tax credits, some of those fly by nights, some of those predatory companies are starting to go away. And hopefully we're getting more ethical companies that act with integrity and honesty and transparency. This is a complex business and it's not an insignificant investment. My average price for a residential system is $75,000. And this represents technology that a homeowner doesn't readily understand. So at times I feel like I'm selling more trust. I'm selling me as the owner of the company than I am selling a product and service. And I think that's really important. It's tragic to hear about a lot of the homeowners that have been abandoned or, they pick up the phone to call the company. There's an issue. Nobody answers the phone because they went out of business. And I know this because I have a small business that actually serves these people where their company no longer picks up the phone.
Yeah, the solar orphans, as they've sometimes been categorized, yeah, can really have some poor experiences. So, but hearing you and your approach there of really building trust, it's not surprising because you and I have talked before, jumping on air here, of how successful you are being. Because I can really see if you're putting those relationships and trust first, obviously you're going to be able to build a supportive customer basis that's going to be raving fans or word of mouth referrals and growth. So why don't you share with the audience, what does Renew look like right now in terms of growth and scaling as you build this out?
Yeah, and maybe just to start with, we do things differently. The industry is fraught with salespeople and they'll camp out in somebody's home I literally had a customer tell me somebody was at their home for 3.5 hours. We don't do that. We have a consultation call to start this. It's a video conference like this. And we are doing nothing but sharing information, educating, answering questions. We're not selling. The next call is a preliminary design and price estimate call. Again, it's a video conference. We don't camp out in somebody's home and we're not pressuring them for sales. And even when we go out for a site visit to validate that preliminary design, we're still not bringing a contract. I don't send an itemized contract quote until after we finalize that design from the site visit. And even then I send it electronically and I want those people to take their time. I tell our customers, if you're not 150% confident in making this investment and making this investment with Renew Solar Solutions, don't do it. I don't want you to do it. And so I think that's been a key to our success. I don't have commissioned salespeople. So we just do things very differently. And I think customers see that right away. And I think they sense how we talk and what we talk about as authentic and true to who we are and our values of our company. And of course, our Better Business Bureau record, we've never had a single complaint, A plus. Google, our reviews, it all backs that up. It all validates what they sense in terms of the interaction they're having with us. And so that is leading to growth. A lot of growth. I had a meeting yesterday with a builder who's doing passive homes at Zero Homes. We're starting to see that as a trend. Literally last week, I talked to another builder who's doing 100 homes, wants a solar partner. And when these builders reach out, they've already done their homework. They can't afford to work with somebody that doesn't act with integrity and honesty and can be a good business partner. So I think the way we have structured our values, our culture, and how we act towards both customers and employees has served us extremely well in terms of people who would like to work with us.
Well, I think you touch on some really significant points there. One is really developing the right type of reputation. And Having spoken to a lot of other solar operators and founders on the podcast, there has been an idea that some of them have raised the idea of selling solar versus allowing a customer to buy solar. And what I hear from you is you're really not selling your buy, you're allowing them to buy. You give them enough information, you give them the space, the understanding. At a certain point, the next natural evolution in their decision-making process is to say, hey, I'm ready to go with you, John. Let's sign the contract. So they're actually buying from you rather than feeling like they're getting sold and, someone camping out in their living room for 3.5 hours, and it becomes like this really intense experience where commissions are very high for those type of sales reps. But I think this flush that we've seen in the industry can really benefit someone like yourself and your company, clearly with the growth that you're happening, because the reputation around really allowing customers to buy from you inside of a safe, secure environment is obvious. So as that becomes the threshold, where do you see some shifts in the industry or some trends that are working maybe for or against you at this moment?
With the termination of the tax credit, solar companies have to do things differently. And, I'm in Tennessee and we have low power rates and we have to include batteries in our design because of our solar program. So I've got expensive systems coupled with low power rates, which is not a good economic equation. So we're really selling probably more on emotion than rationale, meaning we're selling energy independence, energy security, and what's going on right now in the world. So we came off this past year not knowing what was going to happen when the tax credit terminated. And to be honest, I thought I would hear crickets probably for up until May or June. I'm overwhelmed with calls. And I will tell you why I think that is. I think the interest in solar, the exploration of solar has now become more about energy security. And of course, there's a multitude of benefits, right? The lower the bill, the hedge against future rate increases, environment, energy independence. But people are hearing and they understand about these AI data centers and the extraordinary amount of power that they consume. And they're concerned about it. And in fact, the US Department of Energy has predicted that the growth rate of power demand will be 3 to 4 times the growth rate of grid supply. And of course, anybody's in business knows what happens when those lines diverge, right? Supply and demand, prices go up. And in this particular case, what I think is starting to worry people is they realize that that is going to create undue stress on an already frail and dated grid. And so, people are starting to really come to this realization that they own their home, they want to own their power. They want to protect their home and family against power outages or anything else that may happen because that home is just a mere shell, right? Unless you have power to do all the things you and your family do.
You mentioned the significant growth possibility for the rest of this year. What are your biggest operational challenges you anticipate as you scale? And how do you plan to maintain your high standards around customer and employee treatment during this rapid expansion?
Yeah, it's really tough because it's hard enough to try to find people who want to do these jobs. And I'm talking about installation, people who are competent at, you're taking a tradesperson, a licensed electrician, you're trying to make them a business person. That's a challenge. And then, of course, I have the trump card in terms of even if they check all those boxes, do they fit my culture? And to me, culture trumps strategy, it trumps competency every single time. If I don't have somebody that talks the way I do, not how I do, but just from a genuine, authentic perspective in terms of how we can help that customer, they're no good to me and they're counter to my brand. And so to scale and find resources like that is extremely challenging. But at the same time, we'll have people who want to work for us because of the type of company we are. And generally, we're attracting those people that I think are a similar mindset and culture.
Fantastic. Off air, we talked about a very unique value proposition that you have, which is your new energy monitoring solution. Can you introduce that and explain a little bit about that to the audience?
Yeah. So, first of all, we do both residential and commercial. And I know it sounds like we only do residential. We'll actually, last year we were probably 90% residential. This year we'll probably be 90% commercial. So
Wow.
it's a weird dynamic. But with both residential and commercial, we wanted to evolve from a company that just throws up racking and panels to a company that provides a more holistic energy management system. And on the commercial side, what we've done with that is, so obviously we design, we install, we're an EPC and provide the complete turnkey solution for commercial solar. We went out and partnered with a company in Europe. And what this company does is actually track energy usage in commercial buildings at the discrete level. So a piece of equipment, an HVAC, whatever the case may be, because if you think about when a company gets a power bill, it's one big fat number. They have no idea what's driving. They have no idea. But more than tracking usage, and probably more important, it tracks waste. And that's the gold mine there in terms of, and I don't know if you know this, Creel, but 43% of all energy produced is wasted.
Wow, what a startling number.
Yes. And this waste elimination is far easier than power generation and far more cost effective than power generation. But I'm not asking customers to choose one or the other. I'm saying they complement each other. So we can go in there with a very inexpensive monitoring solution and actually set a prioritized list of initiatives for continuous energy efficiency improvement, one component being solar, because it's such a big chip away at the overall bill. So we're finding that we're being successful. We're kind of in our infancy with this, but I think once we start getting a couple case studies, this is going to fall like dominoes. I really do, because nobody has a roadmap out there, and solar is not the silver bullet. There's so many things you can be doing to become more energy efficient in your building. And namely, one is eliminate the waste, right? The easiest, most cost effective initiative that you could choose to become energy efficient.
Makes sense. Sounds like a real added value proposition across the board, residential and commercial, to eliminate the waste there. So I'm sure I'm looking forward to hearing how that rollout will go for you the rest of the year. Talking about technology, what technology, or particularly AI, how do you see that playing a role in this energy monitoring solution, but also across your entire business as demand and you want to optimize operations?
Wow. So I'm a little bit older, but I'm not set in my ways. I'm a big advocate of AI. And I feel like if you're not embracing AI, you're going to get left behind. And to be honest, and I have a high bar for myself. I feel like we're behind on AI, but AI is starting to be built in, be inherent in a lot of the products and services that we offer. So for example, the span panel, and its ability to automate load shedding in a power outage situation, utilizing AI to do a lot of that. So you're seeing it come out more inherent in the products that we provide and that we service. But the operations is really where I've got to attack. I've embarked on that because I can't scale the way I need to scale unless I'm utilizing AI, and I have to get rid of a lot of those mundane those tasks, but also some of the things that we do from a marketing perspective and a design perspective. I can bring AI and really alleviate a lot of activity from my really good guys who need to be in front of a customer.
Yeah, I think a lot of founder-led companies that are successful, obviously you're wearing several hats, and it becomes an advantage at the beginning because you can grow with a lean team, but it also becomes a bottleneck when you really start to see success. So if you could offload one major area of your day-to-day involvement to a smart system or an AI solution or a team, what would it be and why?
It would probably be design. And there's a number of areas, but the reason why is because I believe I believe in AI, but AI that's human led. And there's so much of what we can do that AI is smarter than we are, has more resources, so to speak, in terms of to do what they do. But then we have smart people that can provide oversight and alleviate a lot of that activity and work time associated with bringing a design to bear. And I think we're going to be able to do that with other areas of our business. I will tell you one area of the business, and I'm sure I'm different than a lot of people. It's I know people are using AI a lot for lead prospecting, to respond to leads, to follow up with leads. I'm still even using humans. And the reason why is because of our culture and the brand that I want people to perceive that we care, and that listening to a customer and talking with a customer and understanding their needs and objectives is extremely important to us. And a customer is not going to feel that way if they know they're talking to AI. And so we've not embraced that part of it yet. I don't know if we ever will. to be honest, because that part I think is really kind of hook, line, and sinker with a customer who wants to trust the person sitting across the table from them with their significant investment. So
Hey, I think there's a lot of interesting technology out there. It's not a fit for every business or every industry and niche. So it's navigating it and finding how you had mentioned earlier. It's really about having human operators operating the AI to get the best results rather than throwing AI at it, just expecting, great results. It's usually going to end up in some kind of subpar experience. So definitely it's good to be learning and available and open to it because there's going to be a lot of great solutions there. But at the end of the day, especially in a low trust marketplace that you're in, building that trust through your relationships and how you strategically, implement AI makes sense. As you look towards the future, then moving from here, what are some of your strategic priorities over the next 6-12 months?
yeah, so just building on evolving to a holistic energy management company. So that's bringing in a lot more components, both on the residential and the commercial side. I talked about the monitoring on the commercial side, but on the residential, you think about an HVAC. The HVAC is 40, 50% of the consumption at the home. Again, solar not being a silver bullet, how do we make that HVAC more efficient? Do we actually sell and distribute HVACs? And we have a partnership that we're probably going to embark on that. And so bringing kind of that holistic solution from one provider that can advise and consult with that customer in terms of understanding their objectives and bring a more comprehensive experience than just racking and panels. And honestly, I know this, and again, this is probably very consistent with our culture. This strategy takes money out of my pocket from solar. So if you think about it, if I do this right, if I make other parts of their home efficient, or I make a commercial building more efficient, and I do that in a cost effective manner, now they need less solar. Now they need less solar. Now, while that takes money out of my pocket, I think I'm going to grow far faster than anybody else who's not doing it. Because again, we have this silly tagline: we treat you the way we want to be treated. And I tell every customer, here's what that means. I'm going to treat your investment in solar as if it were my home, as if it were my roof that the solar were going on and my money I was investing. And that means oftentimes I'll leave money on the table or do things more cost effective for you that takes money out of my pocket. I'm okay with that because you're going to tell somebody how I treated you and they're going to want to come and do business with us as well. And maybe just another perspective is just how I would want to be treated. I mean, if I'm investing in something significant as solar and as complex as solar and the technology, and maybe I don't readily understand it, I have to feel that person sitting across the table for me has my best interest in mind, not their sales and profit. And so that's how I want our customers to feel when they interact with us.
And I'm sure that's quite effective because, we led the introduction of you of doing business the right way. And there's obviously these ethics are felt throughout all of your operations. And it's why in the course of 12, 18 months, you're potentially going to double the size of your business. So if you could tell me what's really working well inside Renew.
Trust. I mean, we've talked a lot about that being the foundation. I would say also our competencies. I always tell people, I don't have commissioned salespeople. I just have people that know what they're doing. So the person who does our designs, he's a master electrician. He's NAPCET certified, which is a solar certification, and he's a licensed general contractor. So he knows what he's doing. We use the very best software on the market on the residential side. Why? Because I could flawlessly install a bad design. I'd given you a bad system. We don't use free software. We don't cut corners. And at the other, we also make mistakes. And one of the things I tell customers, we will make mistakes. There'll be issues, but we'll make them right. And that's what differentiates us. We'll pick up the phone. We will make them right. And, one of the things that we did that I didn't have to do, but again, it's how I would want to be treated. A couple months ago, we came out with a white glove service. We actually guarantee the production of our residential installs. At the end of 12 months, we'll go out to their home and physically inspect that system, make sure it's operating the way it should. For the first 12 months of service, there's never a dime out of their pocket for any reason. If they call us out, they want us to run them through their system again. There's a manufacturing deep, anything, no service charge at all. And it's paramount, whether it's a residential customer or commercial. I want them to have peace of mind after that last check is written, or I'm not doing it the right way.
That's fantastic. Do you know of anyone else that provides that type of white glove service?
No, no.
You're the first person I've heard that offers it, so that's why I ask.
And I tell customers I do it for two reasons. And I go back to this silly tagline, we treat you the way we want to be treated. And it's what I would want if I was investing in solar. But the other reason I tell customers this is because I have the confidence to do it. Why? I use the very best software, most accurate, sophisticated software on the planet. I have master electricians, licensed general contractors. I have competent resources. I use my own crew for our installs and NAPCEP certified installers, and I use the very best technology and equipment. And I've learned the hard way that if you don't use the right equipment, the best equipment, you're going to suffer the consequences. Uh, and yes, it costs a little bit more, but in the end, it costs less, if you know what I mean. And so we're very, very disciplined in doing that. And like I said, we've learned our lessons along the way, and now we feel like this is the only way that we can serve our customers.
With obviously so many good things happening in your business and how you conduct yourself, tell me about one of the major challenges or bottlenecks that you face that you'd really love to get addressed.
Wow. Probably installation. I just feel like in this country, when I was a CFO, I was a CFO of over mostly manufacturing companies. And one of the discussions we would have is people don't want to do these jobs and people don't want to install solar. And we're fortunate that the install team we've had them almost from the inception, and they've been very loyal to us. But we've gone through a lot of bad players in trying to grow the teams. People didn't fit our culture, people that didn't want to work hard, and just people, generally speaking, don't want to do these jobs. And people want to sit behind a computer these days and make $1 million. So that's probably been the hardest part. And even when you find somebody who wants to do that job, is competent at that job, again, at the end of the day, do they fit our culture? Because I could check both those two initial boxes, and if I can't check the third one, that person's no good to us.
It's a very common feedback, John, of people who want to grow great businesses. They want to surround themselves with A-team players, and it's hard to find. They're out there. So if you find them, you want to treat them like family and you want to keep them with you. And generally that's the signs of a really great company. So as we move towards the finish line of this conversation, where do you see Renew headed in the next couple of years, but also the industry in general?
I actually see us being more commercial oriented, particularly with the partnership we have in Europe. I mean, just for example, this partnership, they have a relationship with Yum Brands. They've deployed this solution over in Europe with a number of their storefronts over there. And now they want to aggressively look here in the US. And so we're positioned well to start to take on a lot of that business. And then, of course, that's now another means to an end to solar, right? When somebody adopts this product. So, but we will never let go of residential. And again, it comes back to our purpose. We truly, my wife and I, and so many people in our company truly are gratified to help people obtain renewable energy, to realize their energy independence dream. And so I will never let go of that. And so we're going to probably, like I said, become much more commercial oriented in terms of our strategy and our drive, but always maintaining our brand and presence in the residential market.
Fantastic. As we move towards the conclusion of the podcast, John, I've loved hearing the full story of Renew, and obviously the success that you're having is warranted on doing business the right way and also being consistent over an extended period of time, doing business the right way. For people who would be interested in following you, getting a hold of you, potentially being a customer of yours, how do people find you?
Yeah. So our website is, renewsolarsolutions.com. And I don't mind giving my phone number. I love to talk to people. I love to mentor people. I love to have discussions and learn new things. So, my personal cell number is 847-456-6641. And that's probably the best way to get in touch with me. Text me, let me know you want to have a discussion, and I'd love to do that. And honestly, selfishly, I do that also, or extend that courtesy, because I learn a lot from other people, and you never stop learning, right? And if you think you know it all, then that's where you start to die in terms of business. And so I'm always excited to learn from other people and their experiences.
Well said. John, I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to really wish Renew Solar Solutions their very best in 2026 and beyond. For our audience, I will put those contact notes for John in the notes below so you can easily find him and contact him. And for our audience, if you've enjoyed the conversation, if you've learned something along the way, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, share it out with people potentially in the Tennessee area that might be interested in some solar solutions. And I want to thank you for your time. And this concludes another episode of Blue Ocean Solutions. Take care, everyone.
Yeah.